Hi, everybody. Welcome along to episode 128 of Percussion Discussion. This is the last one for 2023. So I have to say a huge thank you to everybody who's listened, watched, shared, commented, or recommended us to anybody else. I really appreciate it. And it's very humbling to see the amount of people who listen to these podcasts or watch them on YouTube. So I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. Much more to come next year, hopefully. So keep watching and listening. Please check out our social media. You will find us on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget our world famous YouTube channel where you can watch as well as listen. There's the video to accompany all of our great conversations. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, we don't have any adverts. It just helps us get the word out. So that would be great if you could. If you'd rather listen on the go, then as you know, they are all available on podcast form, or in podcast form, I should say. These are free to download from your favorite podcast provider. So again, if you could subscribe, please leave a 5-star rating if you could, and a review. Again, it helps get the word out there, spread around to other drummers who might like it as much as you do. On to today's guest, a drummer I found in about, mid-90s, I suppose, playing for Robben Ford and the Blue Line. And I was instantly blown away by this guy. Loved his feel, his touch, just a great player. And after a little bit of digging, as you do when you find somebody who you really like, he's got a huge history playing Chick Corea, playing for Chick Corea from 1978 to 1983, and so many other amazing people. A great drummer, and we had a great conversation. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome the wonderful Mr. Tom Brechtlein.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, it's great, So how's things at the moment? Are you keeping busy?
Yeah, it's been busy with recording here.
Yeah.
For tracks and stuff, and also giving lessons, and then occasionally going out of town. And locally, there are a lot of gigs here in Austin, Texas.
Sure.
So I was just finishing up this recording I was doing for somebody that, I don't know if you know George Whitty. He was producing it. George Whitty.
Not sure.
With the Brecker Brothers, and
yes.
Yeah.
In that case, yes, I do know.
Yeah, and he's a great producer too. And we had a group called Third Rail.
Yeah,
and we went to. Unfortunately, we didn't play in England, but it was mostly Germany and Germany. And then Prague we played in. That was in Japan. I think it was about 4 years ago or something like that. So we occasionally get together. It's me, Yannick Wisdala, and George.
Yeah,
George is kind of the mastermind behind it. But
sure.
But I do a lot of work for George as far as it goes. Hey, Tommy, I got another one for you. I go, send it over, and then we crank it out. And then when he gives the yay and the artist gives the yay, then do you need any changes? Like you do.
Yeah, sure.
And,
Are you more comfortable in your own space now than you would be, like we used to do in the old days, going into a studio somewhere? I know it still happens, but it's few and far between these days, isn't it?
Well, there are pros and cons to it. The pro here is you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to have somebody either set up or break down, or yourself setting up or breaking down drums. And now the on the other side of the coin, it's like when you're in the studio, you're with everybody, and everything goes bang, 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 bang. Here there's a little bit of a delay. You do a track, and then you ask, "How's that?" And then they go, "Oh, I need a little bit more ride cymbal. Can you move the mics closer?" Whereas in the studio, you have 4 or 5 people in there, and we're thinking like faster than any computer.
Sure.
Like here, and then they go, "Yeah, I like the bridge, but but could you do a little something else?" They go, "Yeah, sure." And it's instantaneous, Or if they're not getting enough ride cymbal, the second it comes out and he puts the mic, and that's it. Here, it's a series of communications where you have to wait and listen and have them listen. How do you like it? Well, in the bridge, I sort of like kind of, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to do it again. Then you have to send it and you have to wait. That's the con portion.
Yeah.
But both of them are, of course, it's the best way to record something is with everybody in the same room, you know, and I feel comfortable with both, you know, really.
Yeah. Are you more critical of your playing when you're on your own or when you're in a full-on studio situation?
Well, let's put it this way. Have you ever been in guitar players are going to love me when they hear this. But have you ever been in a situation where you're in the recording studio and you got the basic track down? It's killing. You know, it feels great. Mistakes and all. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
But then the guitar player wants to redo his solo. And it's like take after punch after take after take. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes.
And you're kind of going, okay, it's set. The first solo sounded great in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, now us as drummers, we have the luxury of punching it. I don't like that solo. I'm gonna punch it in, and then you go to where you go nuts, you know. Yeah. And then you go back to the first one, and that's the one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or you've been working on it all day, and you go, "Geez, that really sucks." And then you come back the next day to work on it. I mean, I usually take about 3 hours, probably at the most, if everything's working right.
Sure.
To get it exactly the way you're shaping something. And that's cool because you can shape it, you know, or you can like, that groove works or this doesn't, you know. And plus you're playing to people that have already recorded stuff. So you have to be the glue and make it sound like you're all in the same room, you know. But anyway, I don't want to get too far afield with that, but yeah, it's like you go, oh, that's a better group. That's a better group. And then you come back the next day, you go, you know what? I'm just going to leave it alone. Take a break. This is spending too long on it. Then you go back the next morning and you go, oh, I'm going to fix this. And then you go, there's nothing wrong with this track, you know?
It's almost like, yeah, it's like let them tell you if there's something they don't like and just, you know.
Yeah, you know. I mean, but then you want it to be perfect and blah, blah, but that's the thing. It's like you first of all, that's another story, but you know, you want it to fit in with the track and you don't want to look at the grid. That's the other thing. There are grid watchers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, with the you know, it's not exactly on the grid. It's, you know, I mean, I get it, but still, that's what makes it natural. It doesn't, you're not, you know, although it's amazing when people do that, you know.
Sure.
I amaze myself when I do that from time to time. I go, wow, holy shit. Good, you know. But the main thing is not to watch the grid, to me. The main thing is, does it feel great and is it making you go on like that?
Yeah.
Period, you know. As long as this doesn't sound rushed or even, if it doesn't sound rushed and it feels great, then you know you've got it, you know.
Yeah.
To me, that's my deal.
Well, that sounds like a good deal. And do you get into the EQs, or do you just send the bare stems and let them EQ at that end, or do you ever get into it at your end?
I let them EQ at that end because at that point it's like to me you don't want to be doing that because they're going, hey, could you make this sound a little bit like? No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's what made me get into this. As soon as I found out that I didn't have to adjust EQs or put any plugins or whatever. I just did some engineer friends of mine. All you do is make sure that the drums are tuned well, the mics are placed great, it sounds great raw, and you send them, and they do anything you want with it. I go, okay, I'm in. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could sit around doing that, but it's just too. You know, I don't have to charge people more money than they have to spend. You know, I mean, you know, than they have to. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
And it's a lot of work, you know, and sometimes. What happens, you know, everybody plays to a click differently. So you have to adjust and do a couple little tricks to make it sound natural. So, and that involves sometimes, you know, I'd say half and half. Like, I'm talking about my experience. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but you end up having to punch in to make it fit, you know? And, you know, I mean, and that happens from time to time, you know, and there are a couple little tricks that I do, you know, and, you know, and it's not anybody's fault. It's like if you were playing in the same room together, you'd be playing to each other.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's just that just takes just a tiny bit more work because you're listening and you don't want to, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to rub anywhere, you know?
And you know,
or less rub. But usually what happens to me with these
Oh,
I spend time like getting the groove and making it happen. They go, oh, don't worry, because I'm going to change everything. And I go like, okay.
yeah. And you know, the eye
I'm going
contact
to
thing.
replace all those tracks, you know?
Yeah, the eye contact thing is a big thing as well, isn't it? You know, when you're sitting next to somebody, I know that's not always going to happen at a studio, but if there is guys and you can actually see each other, it helps when you can actually look into someone else's eyes, doesn't it? You know, and see.
Yeah, well, but they're playing to you and you're playing to them live.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? I'm playing, you know, without the drums, the bass player is playing to the drum machine. That's which is fine, you know.
yeah.
But they're just. I'm making. It's real nitpicky, you know. I want it to groove, so you know, not like it's like you're playing to a click or whatever, you know.
Sure.
So, and you can, the best way to establish that is to have everybody in the same room and playing to each other.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's a real art form to achieve that, you know, in the remote way that you do it. And you know, at the end of the day, it's your name going to be on that track. So you want it to be
correct,
as right and as good as it can be.
it. No matter how great the tune may be or how, I mean, you know, or whatever, you know, you have to make it work, you know, and it's your name that's going on that track. So it's worth the time to put in. And I like doing it. It's like a puzzle, you know, just like it is live, it's everybody in the same room. But here it's kind of cool. You can, like I said, now another pro is you can kind of shape the parts or something if you want to go that, you know, that to that extreme. Normally I just play, and then if I listen back and I go, okay, what, there'd be a better part there, and they just punch that in or something like that. And that's pretty much it, you know?
Yeah.
Or does that feel right in that section?
Sure. And as far as the parts themselves, are you a guy that would score parts out, or are you like a cheat sheet thing, or would you just listen and learn? How do you go about it? Obviously, you know, depending on how many songs
I just write a regular chart out. I mean score parts out like what you're doing with the bass drum and the hi hat and the time. I've never done that. It probably works for somebody, but I just listen to what the other instruments are playing,
sure,
and play a groove to that, and what feels the best for that, for what everybody else is playing.
Yeah,
you know, that's how I shape my parts.
Sure.
You know, basically, if you were jamming, so to speak.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I first became aware of you in 1995, and it was an album that was probably just on repeat in my van at the time for at least 7 or 8 months, and
wow.
That's A Handful of Blues, Robben Ford and the Blue.
Oh wow,
that album. That
was the last of the series that we did. We did 3 studio records.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No. And I remember the first time I heard it, and I put it on. And if I'm being honest, I don't know why I bought it. I just bought it because it looked cool. I was like, I don't know.
I was going to say that. You know, you look at the covers, you go, yeah, that looks cool. I'll take that.
To this day, I don't know. Something drew me to it, and I was like, oh yeah, let's try this. And I remember putting it on the way home from the record shop or whatever, and I was absolutely blown away with every part of it. You're playing straight away the beautiful groove, like the note placement, sounds. I was like, this is just amazing. And
oh, thank you, thanks.
Must have been a nice record to make, that one, I'd imagine.
Well, that one, like the first one we did was called Robben Ford and the Blue Line. It's got all our mugs up, and we're kind of looking, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was great. That took about 2 weeks soup to nuts to do that. That's the way Robben describes it. 2 weeks soup to nuts, you know. And that was a lot of fun. We did that at Sound City, and then the next one we did was we were already a band.
Yeah,
you know, that was you know, we gave up a lot of, I guess you'd say, some studio work, and you know, because we were all working in studios, you know, Ross and myself and Robben, and we just, you know, because it was fun. It was a good combination of guys. You know, it was a, for lack of a better word, I guess you'd just say chemistry. You know, and it was fun. We were a band, and we had a lot of, we liked to hang together. You know.
Yeah.
So So we did that record, and it became real easy to do,
Sure.
And then we did the second one, which was Mystic Mile. That was a lot of fun, and we did that at Sound City as well.
Yep.
And we did some of it. I can't remember the name of the studio. Oh gosh. Anyway, it was in North Hollywood. That's like we did that, and then we did Handful of Blues, and that the other two were self-produced. I mean, the first one was produced by Roscoe and Robben.
Mm-hmm.
The second one was produced by the three of us, whatever, probably. No, and the third one we finally got with Danny Korchmar.
Yeah.
He's a famous guitar player from The Section, and he's done Carole King and James Taylor, and you've heard him. And that was fun because that just let us be in the studio,
Mm.
And and we just, like we normally would do, because we're a band, we crank it out. It was like 1-2 takes, okay, that's good. 3 takes, and then anybody who wanted to fix their parts, could, or we wanted to put an organ here, or Wurlitzer or whatever, or background vocal. Then we, overdub.
Yeah. But
that was pretty much the easiest one to make. But all three of them were very easy to make.
Sure. But a wonderful, just incredible. Yeah. Inspired cover versions. Obviously, there's the Nina Simone track, Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood, which is, I have to say, there's been a lot of covers. That is my favorite cover version. You forget that is, Robben Ford for me. Joe Bonamassa is the thing at the moment, and he's wonderful. But I would rather listen to Robben any day, personally.
Well, Robben is unique. He's got a great sense of arrangement.
Yeah,
he sings great. He's one of the best rhythm guitarists that I've ever played with. And forget about it. The solos, you've heard them. They're
beautiful.
Making that, it's incredible. And that's, I remember we were at the Paradiso in Amsterdam. I think it was probably before we made Mystic Mile, and he had the riff to this tune called Busted Up,
Yeah.
And that's when I started singing harmonies with him on that one, and then the octave up,
Mm.
And I remember we just started jamming, and he plays such incredible rhythm guitar. And I remember I looked over at Robben, and I didn't know I was complimenting him, but I said, Robben? He goes, what? I go, rhythm guitar is the drummer's best friend. Good rhythm guitar is a drummer. And he went, thank you, man. I said, no problem. And that was the most the solos are incredible. Because you feel them,
Of course.
And then to this day, when I happened to, pick up a YouTube thing, of which, I did recently, and I posted it. The guitar solos are just, they're just some of the most soulful, I'll say it, some of the most soulful shit I've ever heard, the guitar solos, And just the way he plays, it's just, he's one of a kind, And he's a great guy too.
As you mentioned before, you said we were a band, and that shows in the recordings.
I think so too.
Yeah, you can't recreate that if you've just come together. It's going to be great, but it's not going to be quite like that, I don't think.
Yeah, and in retrospect, when I listen back, I said, man, we were a good band. I said, we were a good band. I said, and that's because we were a band. There's probably guys who can play rings around us that have played with them afterwards, but it's the combination of guys, it's, and I'm not knocking any other combination of guys that he's played with.
Of course.
But I really think we had a unique thing, and even if I'm just talking about music-wise and communication of the music-wise. Some people call it a vibe, It's like, I don't like that word. For some reason, I don't know why.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. It's a word I've never said, I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's a good vibe, man,
Yeah, it's a bit 60s, that, isn't
it? That's me, So.
No, but I remember the drum sounds were just, everything sounded organic. That's a word I use quite a lot, and I like that. Not overproduced, just nice, natural sounding
Well, that was not on the Handful of Blues. But on the previous ones was Walter Newland. He's great. He's still in Los Angeles. He's, I believe, he's from Texas. He's a great hang, Walter. Roscoe got a hold of him, and I can't remember the engineer that did Handful of Blues, but he was fantastic. He was great, just like Walter. It's apples and oranges. And
it's and still now. I kind of revisited it about 12 months ago, and I'd forgotten how good it was. So it's been on rotation again, and I don't think I'll ever tire of hearing that one. But But the thing is with you, Tom, you're not a this drummer or a that drummer. You're just a drummer who will fit into any situation. I guess would you agree with that?
Thanks. I like to pride myself on that. Yeah, but I appreciate it. It's Los Angeles was a tough kind of neighborhood to get that over. And because I'm from Long Island, New York, and I used to go in the city, and as well as I used to watch Elvin and Al Foster, and a lot of guys play. But I also saw Stuff, John Tropez in there when they started out, and others bands, Latin Brecker Brothers, the whole deal, And the drummer, like guys like Bernard Purdie, was the thing that opened my eyes really about that. Because I was playing in rock bands, but I guess I was a jazz snob, so to speak, even though I didn't really know how to play small group yet or anything like that. I was still a novice pretty much. But at 16, coming home from a band rehearsal, and I went and they had this show called The Midnight Special. And they had, some of it was pumped music, you played the tracks, but some of it was live. And so I walked in, and I remember both nights, I was 16, I walked in, the TV was on, and there was this guy, Jerry, oh God. Anyway, first he was great too. He was playing with Cat Stevens at the time, and I made friends with him for a minute. But then I saw this other guy, and I didn't know who it was. And man, this guy was grooving his ass off. Cat Stevens, and I mean, they were playing something medium tempo, but it was some serious pocket action going on. And the guy introduced, the Cat Stevens introduced me, Bernard Purdie. I went, oh my God, of course, So I said, oh, wow, that's cool. And then, that same night I saw the LA Express with John Guerin, and guess who was playing guitar? It was Robben Ford.
All right.
And I went, I want to play with that guy, And there I was years later, But the thing was John Guerin, and John Guerin could play like Tony or Elvin. And here was this guy playing, that Tomcat record and all the other I think there was one previous record, and then there were some after that. But that particular record, John Guerin, and then all of a sudden it went from John Guerin, and then he had the Billy Cobham and Lenny White.
Oh,
Can you say about Lenny and Billy, and then Tony Williams with the Lifetime over there. I know I'm scattering all over the place, and then Steve Gadd pops up out of nowhere doing the CTI sessions. And then doing everything from Jim Croce to Chick Corea,
Yeah.
And then I got to see him live for the first time with Stuff at the Bottom Line. I remember driving into the city really early. We bought tickets for both shows. This is like when did they start? Around 76, 75, And him and Chris Parker. Let's not forget Chris Parker. Now these guys, Steve Gadd, Chris Parker, Bernard Purdie, Grady Tate, Chris Parker, and Rick Marotta. These guys, the ones that I knew, plus the other ones, which I haven't mentioned, were in all the sessions in New York. Bernard might have been going both places, Excuse me. But the thing is they could pretty much play, especially Steve.
Yeah.
Could play anything. And he was the guy that said, oh, man, that's what I want to do. I want to play everything. So anyway, getting back to L.A., so there I am. And that was what I was all about, my mindset. As many, like, I'm not comparing myself, but like Vinny and Steve Ferroni and
Sure.
to name a few, all these other guys that could do that, I mean, Steve is a little older than I am, but I'm just saying in my age group. And then you have Dave Weckl, and then you have Sonny Emery, and you have, to name again, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but people didn't know, LA at that time, they, boom, oh, this guy plays with Chick Corea, Chick Corea, that's my first gig, blah, blah, blah. But nobody knew that I could rock or lay down a pocket. So when I get into the studio and I do that, the producer who's ever running the session goes, I didn't know you could do that. And I looked at him and I go, you never asked. So it was a long, hard road. So I had to pick and choose my own gigs. Nobody was calling me I was getting jingles and I was getting, but as far as pop gigs and stuff that happened later on. But I'm not, I wouldn't change a thing, but no, I love doing it all. It's great. It's challenging.
Oh, yeah. But, the names you've mentioned there, two in particular, Lenny White and Steve Gadd, both predecessors, with Chick Corea. Was there any, when you got the gig with Chick, was there any thoughts of who's gone before you? Is it like, oh my God, look at this.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, carry on, but I was too young, and you're just strong-headed. You go like, okay. And that's the same thing that happened with Chick. I saw them on a PBS show called Soundstage, of which I ended up playing about 2 years later with Chick, Gary Burton, and Tony Brunel, and Al Jarreau sat in. But I remember first I was super impressed with Lenny. I love the way Lenny White plays. I mean, I absolutely, he's loose, but he's, it's like, it's coming from that whole thing. I mean, I have to say it's like Tony, and before that,
Yeah.
Now Lenny played with Freddie Hubbard, played with Joe Henderson prior to that, he played with a bunch of other people. I think he played with Mandrill, I think, too. Not sure.
Right.
But anyway, and there's another guy who can play anything, really. And he was like the Elvin Jones of the fusion scene. I mean, I just loved the way he was just, Mike Clark is another one. But anyway, it was this soundstage, and I was doing a book report. That was due the next day. And Return to Forever comes on. And I'd never seen anybody play the electric bass like Stanley before, because nobody was playing like that. And then, of course, Chick, and Al. They started playing, and I put the book down and I stopped. I just put this thing aside, and I made this decision. I said, I'm going to play with that guy. And 2 years later, that's kind of what happened. I was, how would you say, too young and naive. Like, I sort of not half-assed, knew the guys before me, but that kept me, I guess, driven. Is that the way,
Yeah.
I was driven to, like, just, do the best I could, and honor that, but at the same time, too young to notice the pressure that was involved, because I said, wow, check this out. This is cool, but I better do a good job still. I didn't, But it was great. It was really, really great. And it was a great learning experience the first year.
I can imagine. I mean, people have, other musicians have great expectations when you join a band like that. I mean, outside of the band, people who are going to buy the records. And did you feel that? Did you feel that pressure, Tom? Or was it, did you just take it all in your stride?
No, I took it all in my stride. I didn't even care about reviews or anything. I didn't, I was just trying to get the gig done. Not trying, I was getting the gig done, and I was having a good time. And it was Chick Corea. That's I made a goal that I'm going to get a big gig by the time I was 20 years old. I mean, who knew? There I was. It's like, how did I get here? I mean, really, it sounds Like, yeah, right. He's just saying that. No, but it was true. I said, how the heck did I get here? And I certainly, at the time, I figured I could teach music in a high school or something and do this. But you really can't do both. And as soon as I got that decision straight, that's when stuff started happening. Yeah. Because you gear your sights towards that goal,
I mean, the thing is, the relationships with previous drummers with Chick, they never end because the person is a bad drummer. Things just get, sometimes need to be freshened up, or the drummer leaves.
Oh, yeah, just move on,
And let's be honest, Chick Corea was no mug with any musician he's ever taken on. So he obviously knew what he wanted, and that was that, which is,
Sure. They're different, nothing lasts forever, unless you're the Who or the Beatles.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
In that case, well, the Beatles kind of split up, but the Who are still there. The Stones are still. I meant to say, unless you're the Stones or the Beatles.
Yeah, that's about it. That's it now.
All right. No, I'm sorry. Unless you're the Stones or the Who. Excuse me.
Yeah.
There I go. 3 mistakes in one go. Okay.
It's
and other doors open. It was just, and I, quite honestly, I was thinking of moving on myself. I think, and then I ended up playing with Wayne Shorter after that. I mean, Joe Farrell in the interim, Wayne Shorter, and then also they're going in the pop direction, subbing for Tommy Taylor and Christopher Cross's gig.
Yes,
that came. Tommy got sick, and then I was on a plane learning all this stuff, and then we did it. He was very happy,
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff like that happened.
Yeah.
In '83, that's because 1980, I think it was 82 was the last run of gigs I did with the Touchstone band, which was Carlos Benavent, Steve Kajala, Chick, myself, and Don Elias, who I learned a lot from. We were really good buddies. We hit it off from the very beginning because also the tail end of, I think it was 1980 or 81. That's when Don came in. We were playing at the Roxy, and I knew Don and I revered him, and I was going, oh God, didn't rehearse, so we were at the Roxy on Sunset. And I walk in, I was still living on Long Island. I hadn't been to I moved to LA yet. And I said, I hope they put it on the other side of the stage. She was, well, anyway, so I'm on the floor, because it's like keyboards, drums, then the conga drums were right next to me. And, I was like, I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
But when we started, it was around the Tap Step record. I did, at that era, I did Secret Agent, Tap Step, and another one called Again and Again. And
yes.
Later on, I did a thing called Rumba Flamenco, and then The Ultimate Adventure, along with some other drummers on that record. So the Tap Step, it's just released, or it might have been, and also La Dieu d'Olivier. But La Dieu had to go out with Chicago, and then anyway. So Don's sitting right here, and from the first downbeat, we connected. I mean, it was great. It was just like we're smiling at each other and we're having a lot of laughs. And we just became really good friends over the years,
Sure.
And also with each tour, we became really close. Yeah. And it showed in the playing, I think, And he would experiment on me with certain things, like bata rhythms on the drums, which really shaped my idea. I didn't, I couldn't tell you what I'm playing, when we play. I'm just listening to other people when they do the so-called Latin is a very broad term.
Very, yes, yeah.
But so maybe that was good for me because I'd mix stuff up, which would probably make some people mad, but some other people all right with it,
Almost a Latin fusion.
I guess you'd call it that, or Latin jazz, which has changed drastically since then.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even say that because I didn't have a full knowledge of it, although I thought I did, which I didn't. I made 2 statements that were pretty stupid. Maybe 2. But we won't talk about that. But instead of being young and stupid, now I'm just old and foolish. So
Well, you
what are you
mentioned
gonna do? It's music. It's
yeah,
music.
you mentioned the Tap Step album, which is incredible, and oh gosh, what's the track? Is it Grandpa Blues? Is like a masterclass in how to play rolls. Oh man, buzz rolls.
Oh, thanks.
Beautiful. What a song.
Yeah. That record was done at Chick's house.
Was it really?
Yeah. That was the beginning. I think it says either Love Castle Studios or Mad Hatter. I can't remember. But they had Bernie in what would be called the parlor. And he had a mixer there, and the place was wired up. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And
we kept Joe Farrell. There was this indoor patio, so you couldn't see him because it was dark in there. But he has an isolation booth for the tenor. And then, the first record, Secret Agent, that I did was done at Producer's Workshop.
Yeah.
And then, so going from that one to this one was a totally different deal. And I used Chick's drums on that.
Oh, really? What were they?
What were they my drums? I can't remember. It's such a long time ago.
Yeah.
But there was a thing called Rumba, not Rumba Flamenco, called Flamenco. It was the last tune on the record.
Mm-hmm.
It's got all that stuff in it, Right?
Yeah.
That right? It is the one that's that one. So I'm about to go home, and we haven't even thought about recording that. And I get a call from Chick going, "Tommy, you got to come over to the house." Well, I said, "I'm going to leave tomorrow. I can't." He goes, "No, you got to come over to the house. I got this new tune." He said, "You get it right away." So I get to the house, and we go, and he goes, "Check it out." And he's doing all this stuff. I said, "Chick, you have a chart or a lead sheet?" He goes, No, you'll get it, man. You'll get it. It's like, all this, all this stuff. And I go, so he finally gave me the lead sheet to it. And I went, "Thank you." And then I think we did it it might have been 3 takes, 3 or 4 takes. No, I think it was 3, And then we did it. And that was that. That was the end of that project. But that was it was a fun record to make. And that's when he, again, we'd go into his kitchen to have like a little sandwich or something like that. And he'd have these tapes, that would people send him. And one of them was Los Papinos or Los Papines, which is a Cuban percussion group, which was amazing. I'd never heard of them before. But I learned a lot from just listening to that in his kitchen, And so anyway, it was great fun. Thank you. That was.
Oh, but so I mean, I'm guessing recording with Chick must have been. It must have been like a dream, because is he critical of what you play? Does he have a say, or did he? I should say, sadly.
He'll make suggestions like. And if it's good, it's good. Like it was funny. We there's a tune called Glebe Street Blues on Secret Agent.
Yes.
And now he was cool in the studio. He was totally cool. It's like, that's good. That's because we wouldn't spend too much time doing basics, When we did I'll tell you the other story later. But with Glebe Street, I remember when we were on the road, we were just working on it, and I just had this regular shuffle. I don't know if you're familiar with that tune.
Yes, I am. Well, I've heard it. I've heard the album.
He overdone the hi-hat, but the original version, this is going to be loud. So anyway, and it's probably going to be delayed. But the original beat is. Forget it already. Hold on. that's the original beat, but he did this thing on the top, whatever. But I remember I had a thing that was just basically right.
Yep.
So just before recording it, I was just tinkering around, and I came up with that first one I played you. It's just, and Chick came out and goes, "That's it." I'm like, oh shit, now I got to remember this. Okay, fine. And then we did it, and I think we did 2 takes, and that was it. And you know, I think maybe the first take we're working out the and then we go back and we go to a regular shuffle after that. I know I'm singing all these riffs, and people probably don't know what the hell I'm singing, but you know,
well, they can
buy the record, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
People know what I'm talking about. So, and that came about like literally 2 minutes before we started. 5 minutes before. Let's be fair. 5 minutes before we started recording, I went, okay, it's amazing what you can pull out of the hat, you know, when you have to. Because I didn't have anything. I was like, what you got, Tom? Okay. 5 minutes before, Tinker, he goes, wow, yeah, that's it. That's cool, you know. And that's basically what happened. But Chick, come to think of it, he wasn't really, he kind of let me do what I wanted to do, but if he had a specific thing in mind, you know, he'd just sing it to me, and then I tried it, and he'd go, okay, cool, that's it. And then you can build on that, you know. You know, now that I remember, I have been a while, you know.
You know, it sounds like pre-production wasn't much of a thing with Chick.
Oh, this is not pre-production. There's no pre-production.
It's all happening there and then by the sounds of it.
Well, you know, in a lot of sessions it wasn't. I mean, the producer would have something, you know, and then you walk into the studio and you go, okay, guys, I got this tune. Boom. Come up with something. And not just everybody. That's the way you did it. That's the way you did everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
It's like, here's the tune. You know, I'm playing it. This is, you know, let's sit around the piano. This is how the verse goes. What do you got? Well, let's try this, you know, but you have to come up with it fast.
Sure.
You know, any person will tell you that, you know. Now, I mean, you know, it's like, you know, I remember when back in the Alamo, we Davy Crockett, you know, it's like, anyway, but that's what it was. It was like, in some ways, it was better. And I mean, like I said, there are pros and cons. Now you can get, which is great too, because it saves, in some ways, it saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because they have the grooves knocked out, you know, when you get a little MP3, it's sort of like this, it's kind of like this, you know, and at least you have some place to start instead of fishing for what the person wants, you know.
Sure. That's
where it's a good thing now to have what's going on.
Yeah. But that's kind of a pro and a con in the same sentence, isn't it? Because it's that creativity away a bit.
And that's what I'm saying is no complaints.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to tell for those who don't know and never experienced that's the way it happens. You know? I mean, the best you could do is like somebody, I'm going to send you a cassette or something of this guy strumming on a guitar, singing. You know?
Yeah.
So, or a guy could do a demo where he could multi-track. I mean, I don't think I've ever had that, but
sure.
Well, maybe I did once. You know, where a guy played all the instruments and, you know, sent it over. I said, wow, that's pretty cool, you know?
Absolutely.
That's enough of my racket.
How does it feel now to be part of history, that great legacy of music that you know, that Chick has left? It must be, do you ever think about that you're part of that story and you know, I always think it's an amazing thing when something like that happens.
Well, I don't know if people even know with me, you know.
Really?
Some people do. But not like others, I don't think. I mean, that's just my observation, which is fine with me because I was part of like all the guys that I met through Chick and all the advice I got from Chick.
Mm.
and all the people that passed through that camp,
Mm.
you know.
Mm.
I could tell you like Dave Liebman, Joe Farrell, Don Elias, Chick, of course, Bunny Brunel, Carlos Benevent, all bit of pieces of what they knew.
Yeah.
You know, and then I would just observe and listen and, you know, go, okay, that's some information I can just put in my bag of tricks, or some understanding of something, you know. I mean, you know, Lagier, Joe Henderson, a little bit of that, you know, just playing, you know, sitting next to Joe Henderson on the flamenco tune where he plays solo, you know, Chick's ideas about stuff. I mean, even Stanley I got to play with Stanley a few times, and that was enlightening, you know, and then playing with Al Di Meola later on, you know, and playing some of Chick's old Return to Forever tunes, you know.
Yeah.
So it's sort of this thing, and it just, I mean, and Ayrton especially too, you know, meeting Ayrton and becoming friends with him.
Yeah.
Who was the first drummer in Return to Forever,
mm-hmm.
you know, and Stanley, Chick, Joe Farrell, and Flora Purim. And those albums, you know, just watching Ayrton play, you know, in his group, I just watching, it's just, you get the whole ball of wax.
Yeah.
You're able to duplicate what that thing is about. You may not have the history he has, but you go like, oh yeah, certain things, form, the way things sound when he plays.
Yeah.
Ayrton he's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of the most amazing musicians I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know?
And another predecessor, of course.
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, there was one time on the I remember the last tour I did with Chick in Japan. What was that, 2006? But then we did the anniversary, the birthday bash thing, 2016.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Ayrton was playing percussion on that. And we played some U.S. dates too. And I said, Ayrton, if we play Captain Marvel, you're playing drums on it. You know? Anything he played on, but we didn't.
Ah, shame.
You know? I was hoping, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, Ayrton was a gas. You know, anyway, so one day, so we had Hubert Laws on the gig too. And I remember there was this one date where Chick goes to me, he goes, you know, I got an interview today, man. I says, Tommy, can you rehearse the band? And I said, you really want me to rehearse the band? So I did, you know, here I am, like I'm going, I just went, let's do this. And then I actually corrected a few things. I can't believe it. It's like, I mean, you have Hubert Laws and Ayrton and Carlos Benevent and Jorge Pardo, like, in front of you, and you're going, this is weird. You know? Oh. Well, I know it wasn't Jorge Pardo. It was the last group was Hubert Laws, Ayrton, Carlos Benevent, myself, and Chick. And they were all a blast. All the groups were a blast, you know? I learned a lot from Jorge Pardo. The 2004 to 2006, he got this other group, Touchstone, and not reunited, but this time with Jorge Pardo, Ruben Dantes, Jorge Pardo on flutes, saxes, Ruben Dantes on percussion. He was the one that introduced cajon to flamenco music.
Oh, right, okay.
He was the first guy. He was the first guy. He's from Bahia, actually. But they all Jorge and Carlos and Ruben, they played with Camarón, who was this, you know, he was the premier flamenco singer, you know. And then they started playing with Paco de Lucia, you know. And I learned a lot from those three guys by just playing with them.
Yeah.
About flamenco. Not technical, but just kind of conceptual, you know.
No, I get
which
that.
You really can't explain. It's like you have to play it.
Yeah.
I think.
You're not going to get it out of a book.
Yeah, although you can start with the mechanics, you know. I mean, that's okay, but to really get the flavor of when the phrases end, which is when the person who's soloing or the person who's playing is finished.
Simple
So
as
you
that.
have to set sort of like a radar, and it's really cool when it happens too. You know, I mean, maybe there is some technical phrasing, but not that I know of.
Sure.
You know, but that was, I'm saying, from Chick's camp, everything that I've learned. You know, with all the different musicians. This is what regarding that question.
Yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
you've we were talking about styles before, and I know you worked with Natalie Cole for some time. How was that for a gig? That must have been a real treat to do that gig, because
that was a lot of fun. I remember I was expecting to. I was just sitting home having a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
David Garfield and Terry Trotter said, there's this rehearsal studio that was near me at the time called Third Encore. And Terry calls me up. Terry Trotter's an incredible piano player, keyboard player. I mean, and he's played with Natalie, played with Larry Carlton, among. So he calls me up and he goes, "What are you doing right now?" He says, "Get your drums and come on down to Third Encore, like right away." Because me and David Garfield were talking, and we want to get you here so Natalie can hear you. So I guess the other they were all great drummers, but there's always that. It's a crapshoot, So I come in, and because they were doing which was supposed to be a 25th anniversary thing. So they wanted a guy who could play R&B, a guy who could play rock, and a guy who could play big band, and maybe small group, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I went in there and we played, and with the old musical director, who's the music, and then they were handing over the baton to this other guy. So I walked in and I played, and Natalie asked a few questions, and she's real sweet. She's great. She's pretty cool. She was pretty cool, or she is pretty cool, wherever you are, Natalie.
Yeah.
And I played, and they said, "Okay, thanks." And I, packed up my stuff, and then the tour manager called me that night. He said, "You got it." And I said, "Cool," And then the first, then we went into rehearsals, and the big band charts were a lot of fun to play.
Mm.
That was really that was really cool, because I hadn't played big band in a while, and the charts just play themselves anyway. And sometimes I take liberties, like on these Sammy Nestico charts, and they worked once I got comfortable with them, And now I remember one time I did this Tony Williams type fill. This part that goes da 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 da, he goes da da da. It goes into the shout chorus, and I remember Natalie turning around and going, "Damn!" like that. And I went, "Okay, we'll keep that in the act," And but it was really fun. It was one of my favorite stories. I remember we were in Monaco, and I'd never been to Monaco before. Playing, I guess, a private event, and I heard that B.B. King was in the audience.
Mm.
So I figured, well, as a tip of the hat, I'll play all the big band charts like a double shuffle,
Yeah.
Chew tobacco, that kind of thing. And I said he probably won't notice, but it's my tribute to him.
Mm.
So this is when he was still really healthy, So I remember I was the last guy off the bandstand. I'm putting about 4 books filled with charts. So I'm putting my stuff back in so the guy can collect it and whatever. And on the last one, and that's an outdoor thing, and in the back they have trailers with walkways and stuff like that. And there's nobody around, and I'm coming back, and just to take my suit off and get into my civvies, I guess, and I hear BB's waiting for me, and he's looking sharp, man. He's got the silver kind of silk suit, looking, he's got a nice watch on and a ID bracelet, nice shoes, and he's looking great, smoked sunglasses. And I hear him go, there he is. And I went, oh, hey, man, how are you? He goes, he gave me this big hug. Come on over and give me a big hug. He says, man, when you came out with that shuffle, man, I couldn't contain myself in my seat, you know? And then he goes, and then my wife calmed me down. And he goes, and you did it again. And I said, BB, I said, you made my life. You don't have to say anything else. And he gave me a big hug. I gave him a big hug. And that was it. And that I walked on, I was on cloud 9, man. It was just like, wow. You know what I mean?
That's the biggest compliment really you could ever get.
Huh?
That's the biggest compliment. Wow. That's just.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing. Those are the things you keep close to your heart, you know, when the chips are down, you know?
Oh.
You know, you just go, you know, and it's really, that was cool. In other words, here I wasn't doing anything other than saying through my instrument, thanks, man.
Mm.
Thank you. You know, and I got a big you're welcome, I'll tell you that. You know.
Because let's be honest,
I didn't expect that at all.
Oh,
you know,
that double shuffle is not an easy thing to pull off and make sound authentic.
Well, it's got a swing, and a lot of guys here know how to play it in different ways. You know.
So would it be a Texas? Is it a Texas shuffle kind of?
I don't even know what you call it. Again, I don't know. It's just a feeling, you know. And then I listen to everybody around me and use my ears to adjust. I couldn't tell you Chicago. I couldn't tell you Texas. I couldn't tell you. I mean, there was one time when somebody here said, play a flat tire shuffle. And I went, oh, you mean Louis Prima? You know, just the gigolo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what. So I just played it wider, and they went, yeah. You know, I knew what a flat tire. They call it a flat tire. Well, at least this leader called it a flat tire shuffle, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
Or backward shuffle, whatever you want to call it. You know, and there are just different ways I'll play to enhance it. And then, you know, you learn from the guys who know how to play blues, you know.
Absolutely.
And what's great is they can't explain it technically, but they can communicate it to you in a certain way. And then you listen and you go, okay, or listen to this guy, you know, listen to that guy, you know. But I'm always listening to the other guy, especially the way a guitar player plays rhythm or bass player, or what I can do to counter that. Sometimes you don't play exactly what the guitar player is playing. You know, it's okay to play quarter notes, you know, or, you know, I don't know, more use of, you know, I learned here about more use of the hi-hat playing in the shuffle, a closed hi-hat or just semi-open, rather than going this way, you know. I mean, there's always something to learn, you know, it never stops. We all know that, you know, that's with everybody, you know. How'd you do that? You know?
So
how'd you do that? What are you doing? You know?
It's always always be the way. I mean, thankfully, drummers are quite giving people, and they don't mind sharing. And we're probably a bit of a one-off when it comes to musicians who share information. I don't know that others are the same. I might be wrong. I hope I am. But
I think guitar players are the same, you know. And I think bass players, same thing, and also keyboard players, you know.
Yeah.
And they're also talking equipment too, which is like, you know, I can talk equipment with a guitar player though.
Yeah, I don't get into the equipment thing too much. It's I don't know, but there we go. You know.
Yeah, I don't get too much into the equipment thing here either. I couldn't tell you, you know, if it feels good, it sounds good, you know, it tunes well, bingo, you know?
Yeah.
You know, got it, you know?
That's the thing with drums, and I teach a bit, and I always say, if it sounds good and it fits, then it's good. It feels...
That's right.
There's no right or wrong, really, with drums.
Yeah, you know, in the end, it's here.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and your sensibilities. I mean, of course, you have to have a well-tuned instrument, but still, you know, you know, you can also. I've seen guys make crappy drums sound great without even touching them.
Yeah.
I mean, well, hitting them, yes, but you know, I mean, that's fantastic. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Give me some of that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I could do with some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle making the good drums sound good sometimes. Yeah. Well, I think you're all right, Tom. So tell me, what's in the pipeline? Anything exciting that we should know about?
Well, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm having a lot of fun doing tracks here. I'm doing a track for this guitar player Andy McIntyre next month, and then some tracks are coming in at the end of this month. So keeping busy with that, and then live gigs. You know, I've been playing with Chris Duarte, who's great, and Alan Haynes. These are great blues guitar players that are fantastic. You know, another young talented guitar player here, Dave Scher, who's playing with Eric Johnson right now.
Oh, right, okay.
Wow. And this guy's really super talented. He's a great guitar player. Great singer, great songwriter, you know. But a few of us play with him. It's sort of like a rotating chair, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably just a straight sub on it, but usually I think Brandon Temple and Mike. Oh gosh, the last name. I think it's Avila. This guy is great. You know, he also plays with Dave Grissom, and he's really, really creative dude. So is Brandon Temple. And Brandon Temple plays with Dave Scher, amongst others, around Austin. He's like, you know, I mean, he plays great. He plays with everybody. Yeah. He's terrific. You know, there's another guy named Daniel DeFore who's a great jazz drummer. You know, he just had a baby. Congratulations, Daniel, if you watch this, to you and your wife. I just saw the picture today. It's their first baby girl, you know? And couldn't happen to a nicer guy, but he's gonna be changing diapers for the next
Yeah.
He'll be on dawn patrol, you know.
Oh yes.
Just probably get over the gig, you know.
Yeah. I was just gonna say
I'm sure it's not a problem for him, but you know, having a really beautiful daughter like that, you know.
It'll be worth it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So just more of the same, really, for you then, Tom. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, more of the same, just expanding, you know, getting more sessions in here and doing more outside sessions, you know, and if a tour comes in, I'm all for it, you know.
Well,
so I'm sure there'll be something happening soon. So, you know.
Well, let's hope, because we don't see much of you over in the UK. It'd be nice to see you on our show.
I'd love to.
You know?
I'd love to play with Adele. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like some of the, you know, I can't tell you offhand all the British musicians too. They're great. The ones that I've heard are fantastic. You know? They're soulful, you know?
That's the big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, we were just watching, my wife she's Malaysian and Scottish, and she was raised in Scotland, in Innerleithen.
Oh, okay. Right.
So my brothers-in-law, they look Malaysian, but they talk like that. They told me I'm leaving the messages. I'll be right back. Okay, you know.
I'm impressed.
The messages. He goes, the groceries, man. Are you kidding me? You know. They also introduced me to my idol, Billy Connolly.
Oh,
you know?
wow. Yeah.
He's my hero, man.
Really?
I love him. He's the funniest man on the planet. You know.
I'm so impressed with your Scottish accent. That's very, very good, I have to say.
You know, but I shouldn't say. I'll give you a little story. I know I'm talking too much here, but gotta do
podcast. That's what we do.
but anyway, there was one time I was with Al Di Meola, and we were in Glasgow. We're in Glasgow, you know, and there was an after party jam session, but we were leaving early in the morning, so it was why the hell. We were like 5 a.m, you know, so why go to bed, you know? So we're hanging out. As you know, that Scotsmen or Brits do not like to be imitated in their accent, like, because are you taking the piss? You know, that kind of thing. But Scottish people, well, some Scottish people would not hesitate to give you a Scotch kiss, you know, a heather, you know. And so anyway, I was accents and imitating people that I know, or it's kind of a hobby. They're not being malicious, you know. I just love it because it's fun, you know.
Yeah.
And when you get it, you know. So I'm standing by the bus. We're not ready to go yet, but these two drunk Scotsmen are coming down this way, and they go, "Oh, hello, hey," you know. I go. So I just automatically went, "Oh, hello, how you doing? You know, where have you been about? Where do you live? You know." It was like. And he goes, "Oh, we're doing great. Oh, great." He goes, and then they say to me, "Where you come from?" And it's like, and I don't know the regional accents, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, think fast or else I'm going to get the crap beat out of me, you know? So I said, "Oh, down the road there." And he went, "Oh, great." I was like, "I'll see you later. Have a good time." And they gave me a big hug and off they went. And I went, "Phew." So I don't do that anymore when I'm in Scotland, you know?
No.
Oh, that's a true story. That's like exactly how it went, you know?
Well, you know what? You're lucky it's such a good impression. You might not have got away with it otherwise, but it's really good. So there we are. Look, Tom, thanks so much for doing this. Honestly, it's been a
pleasure.
Honestly, as you say, we don't see much of you over here, you know. So hopefully, who knows? In the next few years, it'd be nice to see you and welcome you over to the.
I sure hope so. If you know of any British bands that want an American drummer that's funny,
well, hey, I'll ask.
I'm bragging about myself on the funny thing. You know, let me know. Send, you know, give my email. Love to.
Let's do it. Thanks, Tom.
All right, man.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Take care, my friend.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye-bye.